Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And boy, the earth has opened up and is sucking in the city of Fall River real fast. A nice sinkhole developed on Central Street and is causing and wreaking havoc on city traffic because that's the way they get on the Braga Bridge. The mayor was seen looking over the hole, and he had a small smirk on his face. Yeah, I would laugh too about Fall River being sunk into the 9th layer of hell. What do you think, Chip? I think
it's very appropriate. We have this giant hole, just like the giant deficit that he's created. So it's very nice that he's looking at it because it's kind of a shortcut to not only hell, but to bankruptcy.
Yeah, it kind of works out that way. And speaking of the mayor, it must be selfie week in the city of Fall River for Mayor Flanagan. It seems that no matter where he goes, he has pictures taken. He was at Dunkin' Donuts, he was at the park, and even citizens are going into the city hall to commend him on what a wonderful job he's doing. I mean, he was seen sitting in a restaurant with children. It seems to me he's really stuck on himself for those lovely pictures. It's crazy. I mean, it's selfie week for the mayor.
It's always selfie week for the mayor. The mayor loves selfies, and he loves politics. The mayor's taking politics 101, and he's taking pictures with dogs and little children, and saying and telling people that people are coming into City Hall to tell him what a wonderful job he's doing. I hope they have drug testing on the way out for the people who are asking him that question, because I don't know what's going on. We're having a lot of carnivals. And of course, those carnivals have a price tag attached, but we'll discuss that at length on one show.
But we're going to discuss it a little bit today too. But while we're talking about selfies, it's very interesting to find out that a gentleman by the name of Ralph Rowe, R-H-O, who was hired as the county liaison or city liaison between Fall River, New Bedford, Attleboro, and Taunton, with the Department of Justice grant. That grant is administered by Martha Coakley and the DA's office. According to the DA's office, they actually have no say on that grant. It's actually Martha Coakley's office. So it's no wonder that the money can be misused by the administration to have Mr. Rowe go around and take pictures of the mayor at every location possible. I wonder if the federal government would like to know about some more misuse of federal funds. I mean, it seems to me that if you're hired to do a job and the grant has specific requirements that you do this job, about talking about criminal statistics and, you know, communicating between the communities about what's happening, that should be done. And pictures of elected officials should be not included in that. I don't know. What do you, I mean, Chip, help me try to understand this.
Well, yeah, you're right, CJ. I mean, in a normal universe, but we're in this alternate universe that we call Fall River. None of the rules apply. The only time laws apply are when laws are used to restrict citizens. But when it comes to the administration and politicians, they do whatever they want. They routinely violate laws. They routinely violate parliamentary procedure. It's totally irrelevant to them. The fact is that they're monarchs in this alternate universe that we call the city of Fall River.
Well, you know, it's definitely interesting because we start looking at what's going on and how it's happening. And, you know, Fall River has been, you know, the land of carnivals over the past couple of months. And as you said, we are probably going to go into this more depth at a future show. But just to cover it, just to highlight some of the interesting parts of it, according to the mayor, no city funds are going into these carnivals. But I guess that means that the Fall River Police Department, the fire department, power, water, sewer, trash removal are all paid for by the carnival. But from what I understand, it isn't. Do you know of any public service personnel that work for free at carnivals? Chip, you were there for years.
Yeah, no, that's no, they don't work for free, and the mayor has this kind of euphemistic way of interpreting it doesn't cost the city money. If he personally doesn't write the check, I guess he figures it doesn't cost the city money. But the fact is the firefighters, the police officers are being paid. I'm not sure we're going to have to do, as we said, further investigation. We'll get all the numbers. But they're being paid either detail pay or overtime. We have to provide, now I'm told that they're tapping into Durfee High School for the electricity for this new carnival down the road. And the big thing is, it is costing the people money. And the fact is that if we use overtime money, that takes away from using that overtime to put a police officer or a firefighter on the truck when they're short, because they will run out of overtime money. But we get back to what we said on our inaugural show. I will remind everybody what we said on our first show, and that was a long time ago. But amazingly, the truth never changes, and it never fears investigation. Follow the money. We've never had so many carnivals in the city of Fall River. And look at the mayor's campaign contribution list, and look at the people who own the carnivals.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because guess what I have in front of me? I have a listing of the mayor's, some of his contributors, and two donors stick out in the top of my head, and that's Deborah and Harold Ferra, F-E-R-A, of Scituate, Rhode Island. And you will never guess what they own. They own Rockwell Amusements and Promotions. Funny how the carnival gets a free ride in Fall River. And they donated the maximum amount that they could donate. And if you remember at the last election cycle, the mayor was called out for having a lot of Rhode Island contributors. And you see things coming from Rhode Island attorneys like James Birchfield, Ken Marandola, a boxing promoter, James Birchfeld, contractor Richard Haverty, lobbyist and former Providence Board of License Chairman Andrew Amandoli, Sasha Correnti, David Corsetti, Lenny Carreri, Enrico DeGregorio, Roseanne Marandola, Anthony Rossett, and Carlene Garcia donated all maximum contributions from Rhode Island. A lot of those names don't seem familiar, but in a future episode, we're going to make them very familiar to you. Seems to me that there's a fox in the hen house, and the chickens are screaming.
Seems like you just read half the population of Federal Hill off.
Doesn't it seem that way, huh? Isn't that interesting? But you know, it always goes to show that if you look, you can find it. And I always have said, follow the money, and you'll know what's happening. And we're getting the pleasure today. You may be looking at my lovely red shirt. We're going to be introducing a new segment today. We're calling it the Hot Seat. And we have our first guest today. So coming into the Hot Seat in 1 second will be our next guest. And let's roll into the Hot Seat. All right, here we are. And our first guest in the Hot Seat in our premiere episode of the Hot Seat is Jordan Silva. Or is it Sylvia? Sylvia, let's get it right.
Don't hold that against
Don't hold it against me. Jordan Sylvia, next candidate for President of the United States, according to his screen name.
Maybe not 2016. I don't think I'd want to go up against Hillary Clinton, but someday, possibly.
But Jordan has been an outspoken person here in Fall River, and we wanted to give him an opportunity to say what he is doing, how he's doing it, and to buff the claims by certain members of the City Hall populace that he's a crazy man.
Well, I don't think you're going to find everybody to not agree with that, but I would have tried to counter those claims. There's specifically 3 things that I really wanted to talk about today, CJ.
Okay.
Was firstly, like you just said, the fact about the website itself, the Facebook page, the Facebook Threw Up in Fall River Facebook group.
Now, you created that page, correct?
I did, and it was only like, I want to say, going on 2 weeks ago, it was 2 Saturdays ago, and I was in another Facebook group in the city, and I was seeing a routine complaint about how if you say anything controversial, or you get into like an argument, or if you like slip out a curse word, they'll kick you out. So I was laying in bed with my fiance, and we were like, you know what? I'm just gonna create a group so that The whole purpose will be so that anyone from Fall River can go on there and say what you want. You know what I mean? That's supposedly what this country is about. I believe in free speech, right? The First Amendment. So that's what we did. I did use the name of another local Facebook group as like a play on our name, right? So I went with Threw Up in Fall River to try to, you know, pun off another group. No harm intended there. But yeah, it's specifically mentioned in the description of the group what it's for. It's just so people can go in there and state their opinions. The problem was what I believe happened was there's a lot of views in the city who are controlled, you know, on like other certain websites or even straight, you know, state people, government people, and what I call propaganda, saying how the city is doing so well and everything's so great, and as a natural response. And if you were to try, so let's take Will Flanagan's Facebook page, right? I've gone on there. I made one comment last week saying how, respond to another woman saying how he was saying the economy's better, the schools are better, crime is down. You know what I mean? He was saying that he's trying to use statistics, like we all know, can be used to lie about anything, right? So he was cherry picking. So what I said was, not only is he, she's like, oh, I think he's doing that. I said, no, he's not doing that. He's not, it's not a question of whether he's doing it. He's clearly doing it, and he's doing it for, and I find that despicable. You know, he's not doing it on accident. He's doing it to mislead the public, right, which I find disgusting. That's all I said. It was no rant. I got booted out of his page that day. So that inspired me even more, you know what I mean, to counter. So other people came on the group, same thing. What happened was a mass of people who've been thrown out of other groups for maybe trying to say something counter to our government, you know, our fearless leader, Will Flanagan, the mayor, what his propaganda he's spouting. People would just question it and get bounced, so they all flocked into that group. And they were saying how, you know, and then it started getting a little out of hand, like free speech does from time to time. If anyone's ever, you know, knows anything about the history of this country and the free speech movement with protecting, you know, Skokie and all, you know what I mean, protecting the most heinous of speech, right? So it can get out of line. And I don't even think it was out of line. All people were doing were posting pictures of like homeless people, right? We're saying how everything's great, like homeless people like in broad daylight sleeping, going urinating in public, stuff like that. And I think that also, like I said, it was people trying to counter this message that all our politicians do, which I find not only offensive, I find it harmful, that they're trying to paint over how the situation really is. So rather than solving it, you know what I mean? So I think it's actually they're doing a harm to my community by trying to say that it's really so good.
Jordan, let me interject here.
Go ahead.
Okay. You've said that, you know, you set this page up to allow opinions not to be censored by the politicians.
Yes.
And we know that some of these other political pages are censored. You are blocked. You are cast aside. Now I want to make this point clear to our viewers now. You are not going to throw anybody off your site who has a different opinion, are you?
Chip, not only will I, and haven't I, thrown a single person out, I've never deleted a certain, the only thing is I am not, you know what I mean, I am not Zuckerberg, like I don't have total control of Facebook, so there have been some, like I said, and it's so great, it's made a total example of one of my strongly held political beliefs that if given freedom, people don't need laws that are saying I'm going to throw you in prison unless you act accordingly, because there are no, right, the laws are in place, but in this group, I've given everybody the freedom to say whatever they want, and there's only been like 2 posts that people have flagged and have been deemed by Facebook, again, because I don't run that, you know what I mean, and they've taken that down. They said it might have been offensive or whatever, for whatever reason, but it was like 2 posts out of the entire thing. So when people are free to do whatever they want, they mostly act, you know, accordingly, and it's not like an affront to humanity, you know what I mean?
I think that's a very, very important point for everybody to understand. This truly is a page that will allow anybody to say what they want. And I think, as you said, you know, the best example to me of what America stands for is when the American Civil Liberties Union defended the rights of the American Nazi Party to demonstrate when the American Civil Liberties Union has many Jewish lawyers, and they were defending the right of people who had no use for them. But that is America. The fact is that we have the freedom to say things that even people dislike. Yep. And so I want to say that I read your page, and I know that Sometimes I guess some people are a little put off sometimes
Yep.
by the
Yep.
language, and we did say on our show that it is adult rated, R-rated
I will
in some
say-
cases.
Chip,
but
Chip, go ahead.
but-
Chip, I will say one thing is I agree, and that's a completely fair criticism, right? But I also like during the city council meeting that I spoke to when I spoke at last month, when 2 of the city councilors objected, and like it was like, oh my God, the worst thing they ever heard in their life, when I accidentally slipped and said the word pissed, right? I don't know if that's going to get censored out of here.
we don't
not on this
censor-
show.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and they tried to use that as a way to like shut me up, right? And then 5 minutes later, when I said the same word, it wasn't a huge affront. Yeah, there is a fair criticism to say, oh, because I will say right now, I am one of the most vulgar, speakers on that page, and that's fine because I'm not trying. Because what the reality is, our politicians, when they're home and they're with their family, and they say they say unpolitically correct jokes, and they use vulgarity. That's just them. And then when they come publicly, they don't do that, right? Because their whole facade is that they're not those type of people. I am not trying to pretend I am anything but who I am. So when I'm at home and I get mad about people attacking me and trying to do offensive things to me, I may curse at people. When people insult my intelligence, my mayor, my city council, I may curse when I talk about them. So if I do it in my own house, I'll do it on that webpage. You know what I mean? And I stick by every word I've ever wrote on there.
Well, I know that page can be confrontational, Chip. And so do you, Jordan, because
Absolutely.
I've had my backside handed to me more than once, and we got into some pretty heavy fights. And I actually had somebody who was kind of what I call a skulker, which was reading the site, telling me that me getting involved with these type of people is going to ruin my credibility. And I said to the person, I appreciate your counsel, and I will look into this very much. But the one thing that keeps coming out right now about people in that group is the mayor's selfies, the pay as you throw, and basically they're saying get rid of this bum. And nobody started that. That's coming directly from these people. Yeah. These are our viewers as well, mind you. Yep. So my question is, what do you plan on getting from this page? Is this basically just a bitch session? Is this just a place for people to go and complain about everything? Or, are you looking to get these people together? Because in less than 2 weeks, you've gone to over 1,400 users of that group. And some people, by the way, are trolling the group. And for those of you that don't know what that is, the mayor is very much afraid of this page because one of his people has created several identities on the page, and even went so far as to create a mock page of Throw Up in Fall River, and they did that as a community page.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, you must be feeling kind of, vindicated or something by this.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what's the plan for this page? What's the plan for its users? Because they all seem to be fortifying together. Yeah. Now the question is, what are they going to do, and can they all come together as a body and go out and do it?
That's another commonly raised concern that I'm personally also worried about too. I don't want it to become just a, as you said, bitch session. So yeah, I'm actually trying to use it. There's two things right now that I could speak about that I'm trying to use it for. First off, I'm trying to use it to, as long as regarding this page you throw, I'm publicly saying, I've been calling into WSAR and saying that I'm engaging in civil disobedience myself. I'm asking to get as much support as I can for people because I can't do a single thing by myself. You know what I mean? I'm just some lowly Fall River, citizen. But if I can get support from hundreds, thousands of people who are not going to participate in this program, they're not going to buy the bags, they're going to get the fines coming to them, and then, like I said, I want to use that to say, okay, well, if they're going to hit us with these fines, we don't agree with it, that's fine. Let's vote in a new mayor, a new city councilor, a whole entire new city council, and waive those fines. You know what I mean? And we could crumble them all up and throw them at politicians on their way out the door. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I want to do. I want to actually use it for civic engagement, right? To have people actually get involved. Another thing is specifically in order to get these people bounced out, we all know how politicians work. They drop bombs like this, like the beginning of their 2-year term, so that they hope people have short memories, right? Like with the Coogan Gate and everything else. So what I'm hoping to do is, I'm not waiting until next November. I want to personally take this time to say that I want to get involved with, I know Chip had a former effort to do the recall for the mayor, which was stonewalled in such a laughable way. These people completely disregarded the law, right? But I want to you know what I mean? I want to get involved in rekindling that and joining the effort that was already started, right? This isn't about me. I want to continue that. But in doing so, I am not going to take no for an answer, right? My plan is to go down there with the signatures, right? Submit the paperwork, all publicly, have it videotape, the entire exchanges, right? Because everything I do is public, and that's, I do it for that very reason, so people know what's actually going on.
Yeah,
so
I've been trying to find your address, 123 Fake Street.
Yeah, it's on the outskirts of the city.
I was going to say, because I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, it's on the outskirts of the city.
Well, it sounds to me like you're attempting to get the people involved, which is something CJ and I have been trying, and that's really commendable. Great. And while we talk about as I said I talked about some of the language. My philosophy has always been, if you don't like it, don't read it.
Absolutely.
Pass it over.
That's what the Supreme Court
that's the
says.
American. That's the American way. But I know people are going to talk about you're saying you're not abiding by a law, and they're going to try to get you. So, I always have a quote that's appropriate. So I have a quote to read to everyone out there, and I think this is very, very valid. In no sense do I advocate evading or defying the law. That would lead to anarchy. An individual who breaks a law that his conscience tells him is unjust and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law. That was Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So the fact is, civil disobedience is based on not just not obeying a law, but being willing to accept the consequences. That's the key. And the fact that you have said this on the show shows that you have a sincere interest in what you're doing. It's not just a bitch page. No. And I have to say that this is what we've said, CJ and I, for all our shows. The people of the city of Fall River have to get together to change what we've got to do, and we have to be the change, and you need to do what you've got to do. Now, tell us, what you're attempting to do. Of course, the recall is near and dear to my heart. So you tell us how you're working on this recall perspective.
Sure. Like I said, I'm going to go down. We're going to gather the signatures we need. We're going to go down there. It's all going to be public. But also, like you just said, I understand. I totally, I find myself reasonably read in American history, you know what I mean, that anyone should know. I've never compared myself to like a, Martin Luther King or like a Henry David Thoreau, but I'm not a megalomaniac, you know what I mean? But I understand it's the same principles of violating the law for something you believe in, and I believe, like Dr. King said, that is like the highest level of, you know what I mean, participation a citizen can do in the government. So yes, I am willing to take the consequences. So going down to the city hall, if they don't accept the signatures, like I said, I'm gonna have 100 people come back with me. It's all gonna be public, and people who are willing to get arrested and say, listen, we're not leaving here until we get this paperwork accepted. You know what I mean? No more technicalities, no more, looking me in the face and trying to use the law, like just interpreting the law however you say. Well, I'm willing to go to jail over this. You know what I mean? Like I am. So, and I hope I can get enough people to support me in that. And it'll be in the Herald News. If they want to put it on, statewide news, local area news of 100 arrests in City Hall in Fall River because they don't want to accept this petition. By all means, please. I hope they choose that route. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just very interesting because civil disobedience isn't just an American tradition. This has happened across the world. One of the biggest people who was a civil disobedient was Gandhi. And he was a man who advocated civil disobedience with no violence to change the law and to free a country, and he did it. Mm-hmm. You look at South Africa, the same thing happened there. And and over again, we see it. So it's not always a bad thing. These people were called crazy too in their day, and now, look at Nelson Mandela. He was accepted by the world as, the hero of South Africa. And Gandhi is now looked at as one of the greatest leaders in the world because of civil disobedience. Yeah. So maybe this is what Fall River finally needs.
And I'm not trying to compare myself to those people.
No, we understand it, but you realize this is the hot seat, and it's hot seat for a reason. Because everything you say now is out there forever.
Yeah, I love it.
You're on camera.
I love it.
Everybody's watching this. You can't take it back. You can't say you own it. Exactly. Yeah. Now, for those people out there, and as we do, we get our we have our fans and we have our detractors, and as I always say, I don't give two shits about that.
Okay, I guess we're not being censored here.
So I don't really care. I'm going to do what I think is right, and that's the way it is. But for your detractors, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that they're going to probably throw out. They're going to say that you have some kind of hidden agenda, or you have an axe to grind. I mean, what's your response to that?
Like I said, I feel like I've articulated what my intended purpose was all along. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like I ran like a write-in candidacy a couple, I think it was 09. And it was after August, after the deadline to be on a ballot. So I would love to be the change, you know what I mean? What I'm trying to do is get like-minded people to take the city council over. So I'd love to see people who agree with me, myself included, get on the city council, become the mayor, and take these. So I do have like political aspirations. I'm not trying to deny that. Like my Facebook, my own personal profile, name on Facebook is Jordan Sylvia for POTUS. You know, it's been that way for a long time. Like, it's not like I'm hiding that fact, you know what I mean? I hide my political aspirations about as much as William Flanagan does, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, but I will say, yeah, I would love to take office because I'd love to make the changes that I would love to see happen in Fall River. I believe that we can make Fall River, Massachusetts literally the best place in America to live. Not political propaganda from people like Will Flanagan saying, yeah, great city, while they're like stepping over homeless people in the streets, you know what I mean? Literally make the changes that don't exist anywhere in this country. I want to make Las Vegas look like a tyrannical place compared to Fall River, Massachusetts. You know, that's how free I want to see our city become. And again, I can't do a single thing of that without, you know, other people. I'm just going to be, like he said, you know, one of those other crazy people who are written off to the pages of history, you know, which is fine too.
And it's true, because a lot of people will hear that and they'll say, you know, we got an issue to deal with. You know, is this guy for real? Is he crazy? Is he nuts? Does he need an admission bed over at Corrigan Mental Health? I mean, you know, they did keep the beds over at Taunton State Hospital. So, you know, I admire what you've done. I mean, I've followed you since your write-in campaign. And I've been a friend of yours on Facebook since that time. So you have a lot of great things to say, but again, like at the city council meeting afterwards, people perceived you as a nut job.
Yeah,
and
I could speak specifically to that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Could you speak specifically
to
why that happened?
And I know you're asking specifically, CJ, because you've seen it firsthand, because you were there.
I was there.
Obviously, when I got up at that desk, I was clearly flustered, right? And when I speak publicly, I'm speaking on camera right now. I have no, you know, fear or apprehension about doing so. I can speak it to 1 million people, right? No teleprompters. I would debate Barack Obama without teleprompters and make him look embarrass him. I believe, right? I'm a megalomaniac. Anyway, when I spoke that day, you saw what happened beforehand about the city council president stepping to at first we're having just a casual conversation about why they weren't going to allow me to speak and everything was kosher, up until the point where Joseph Camara stepped to my face as the city council president and raised his voice and tried to intimidate me, saying, listen, kid. Well, he didn't call me kid. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he basically, I'm paraphrasing, said, listen, you're not going to speak. That's it. And he like yelling at me, and I specifically outed him. I said, are you trying to intimidate me? Like I would never allow myself. So I kind of met him where he was at, you know what I mean? Energy level. And then that's what happened before I went on there, and that's what happened after, you know. Well, our time is up, and it's been great having you. And for you viewers, if you want to be on the hot seat, let us know. We'll be more than happy to have you. Keep watching the show, because we got a lot of information that we weren't able to address tonight. Have a great day. Don't look for change, be the change.